Talent is the company's biggest asset. But what happens when your biggest asset turns into your biggest blind spot? Let me tell you a story about how we learned out that hard way. That's me in a massive tractor. I used to be the director of talent acquisition for a $4 billion construction company, and we had the opportunity to partner on a $300 million mining project. So we only needed 3 employees with mining experience. So I searched across departments, spreadsheets, softwares, calls, emails, and I found no one. We lost the opportunity, but the worst part was that we had 3 people internally with mining skills right under our nose. I'm Vilshanki, the founder of Silo. I spent 15 years in construction HR, and this is just one of the many stories that I could tell you. Not knowing your talent doesn't just cost you opportunities, but it impacts every phase of construction, from business development all the way to project completion. For perspective, a single day's delay on a $50 million project can cost $45,000. And this is happening because employee data is scattered across dozens of systems and sometimes just lives in the manager's mind. So there has to be a better way to manage and retain what matters most, our employees. And this is where we come in. Our machine learning ontology engine collects all of the scattered data, learning and mapping the relationships between people, skills, and projects. The system tracks skills in real time through project schedules and daily logs. It automatically updates employee profiles. And this is why you can, with Siloing, you can find who you're looking for, not in hours, but in seconds. Need somebody for a bit, urgent project gap, specialized expertise, type in a keyword and click, and you find that person. That person's not available, that's okay. With another click, you can find other employees that have the exact same similar experiences. And this completely transforms how we work. HR slashes hiring costs and increases retention through talent pipelines. Operations rapidly staff projects. Employees showcase skills and drive growth. Now, the market is massive. We're targeting an $80 billion market of global construction companies that are ready for talent transformation and a $700 million market for Canada and the US. Now, you wonder, if the market's so big and the problem's so big, why has no one solved it? Well, companies are trying, but current solutions fall short. Generic HR system takes too long for customization. Construction software has just scratched the surface. So that's why we decided to build Siloing, the first construction platform to unify your data across all your entire organization. And it's not just about finding talent faster, it's about changing how we work and manage what matters, our employees. And how we're gonna win this business? Well, construction is all about relationships and trust, and that's how we're gonna move forward. We're starting with smaller civil contractors, then needing HR solutions, and progressing to larger contractors, and eventually scaling across the sectors. This calculated growth approach allows us to build trust and relationships at each stage while refining our product. Now, with our simple revenue model of $150 per employee on an annual basis, we're projecting $24 million by year 5. And it's not just a projection. We have validated the problem and solution with over 100 user interviews. And we have built our working MVP this year and are currently piloting with 2 US civil contractors. We're backed by a VC and we have the team to solve this. I spent 15 years in construction, HR, operations, and product. I bring deep industry insights for talent solutions, and I'm backed by a very strong team. Now, we're seeking $500K to accelerate our product development and to create presence in the market. And the opportunity is now. The construction's at a tipping point. Projects are soaring to $3.3 trillion, while 40% of the workforce is headed to retirement. Companies can no longer guess who their talent is. We have the solution, we have early traction, and we're positioned to be the industry standard for talent in construction. Thank you.
Neil.
Thank you. That was great. So I just want to make sure I understand. Construction companies have HR systems or don't have HR systems, or the HR systems like a Workday are just inadequate because they're not purpose-built for construction. So are you replacing that as acting as an HRMS system, but with a specific purpose-built for the construction industry?
So the biggest challenge right now is that you have people using HR softwares, you have operations using, their softwares for project planning, and then you have employees just kind of dwindling in the wind. So there isn't a benefit in the space right now in any of the softwares that actually collects all the data across all the different projects. So if I was in HR, I would have to go on HR system, but then I would have to call ops manager to actually figure out where that person is. So what we're doing is we're not changing anybody's workflows. You can keep using HR, you can use spreadsheets. What we're doing is we're building a layer on top that consolidates all that data, because the one thing in construction, you can ask them to change something, they're never gonna use your product. So really we're just consolidating all so that everybody can use it and find people as needed.
So your buyer in the organization would be the COO or the CHRO?
So we have two ways. So it would be the CHRO, but then we're also looking at the CEO potentially, depending on the size of the company or operations.
Thanks.
Since it's sitting on top of other programs, how fragmented are the systems that construction companies are using? My question is basically, how many different pieces of software do you have to integrate to get this to work? And how tough is onboarding for each customer? For
sure. So we're not doing direct integration. We're pulling data depending if it's static or dynamic. That's how fast we'll pull it out. But what we're doing is we're building on a back end, we're building an ontology taxonomy piece that can just ingest the data as it goes and then create the insights for us. So in terms of how fast does it take to onboard somebody, as soon as we can connect to your system, it can probably take, I would say, maybe 6 weeks to 8 weeks to get that all sorted out. Because we structure the data on our end, so they don't have to modify it or change it or rename it. We just ingest it all and clean it up.
Thank you.
But at the end, at the end of the day, these industries are, they're not new, right?
Yeah.
It's slow, right? It's beast started getting them moving. And your slide that showed integration into CRM, email, a bunch of different things. I understand that you're sitting on top, but it's going to take time for them to let alone get you some stuff into the CRM, into the email, because you need that data, right? And so it feels to me like it could just be a slug of time to try to get, because they're already slow as it is.
Yeah.
So how can you really push to get that integration and to get that data?
For sure. So what we do as a demo, just to even demonstrate how easy it is for us to find people they weren't aware of, we go to their LinkedIn profiles and we scan their website for information, and we build their own little database of all their employee profiles. We repopulate the profiles based on the skills and positions and projects they worked on. And then when we demo it, they're like, how did you do that with even data that we didn't give to you? So then at that point, they're much more willing to give data that we're looking for. And we're not looking for anything confidential. Like, I don't want social insurance numbers, nothing like that. So they're much more willing to do it because of how much we can do with whatever's public. And that's their competitors. Like, your competitors are getting this, so why wouldn't you want to harness this on the inside?
So go back to the first question, the CHROs, adding 150 a month, was that for the HR user, or is that per employee across the organization?
It would be for employees across the organization. I think in the beginning what we want to do is we want to do a grassroots traction across the organization. So I think HR will start, but if I can go and type in like even who's my AP person and be able to find that really quick, that's amazing, right? Like it's...
But the revenue model is...
It would be for everybody in the company. And
a month,
yeah. And obviously as we progress, we'll change the revenue model as we scale to larger companies, because right now we're targeting smaller size.
Do you have the ability to replace HR systems to replace an HRMS system?
We have the ability to supplement an HR system to a company that doesn't have it, but we're not focusing on payroll at this point.